Welcome to this brand new course entitled as Yoga Sutras Wisdom. Now, many of you might be knowing that we here at Govardhan School of Yoga over the past many years have been presenting the philosophy of Yoga Sutras in varieties of courses. And we have been requested that this very sophisticated and complicated philosophy of Yoga Sutras, if it can be presented into tiny capsules of short videos, it will be very beneficial. So listening to the request from all our students, we started this whole wisdom series. So the idea is to facilitate better understanding of the philosophy of the Yoga Sutras in tiny short capsules. So there is enough time for every student to contemplate, to meditate, and to eventually apply these teachings in their own life and move ahead in their journey of yoga, one sutra after another. And of course, this course, if any of you are very new to the whole world of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, or if you're already a well-established teacher of the yoga science, you will find this course very much beneficial. All right. So for those of us who are completely new to the subject matter, let us spend this particular video in understanding what is the foundation of this Yoga Sutras. And of course, beginning with the great sage Patanjali himself. Now, as you can see here, Patanjali, the legend says that he's direct expansion of the great cosmic serpent Anantasesha himself, that serpent on which Lord Mahavishnu reclines. And it is said that once Lord Mahavishnu, he exhibits his mystical yogic potency, and curious to know about it, Anantasesha personally learns this science of yoga from Lord Mahavishnu. And he appeared in the form of the great sage Patanjali Muni and has presented this science of yoga for the benefit of all humankind. Right? So with that, let us actually begin our journey into this sacred science by reciting the first sutra. And this is the first sutra of the book, which says, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Right? Let us recite it. Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Right? So what does it mean? It means, Atha, now, therefore, let's begin this science of yoga. Right? Now, it's very fascinating to see that Patanjali is beginning this particular book by a statement of conclusion. He says, therefore, the sacred teachings of the science of yoga begin. Now, why is he beginning a book with a concluding statement, therefore? So the great acharyas who have commented upon the Yoga Sutras explain varieties of reasons, which I will primarily summarize as three. Right? First, we will try to understand this word atha is a symbolic representation that, see, after having studied so many other schools of philosophy, now some of us, we know that in the Vedic science, there are the 6 schools of philosophy, or the Shad Darshana, and the yoga system of Patanjali is 4th among the 6 schools of philosophy. So prior to the Yoga Darshana is Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and Sankhya philosophies. And primarily, yoga system of Patanjali is very much close to the Sankhya philosophy. In fact, theologically, there is no difference between the Sankhya and the yoga philosophy. However, the Sankhya philosophy, the Sankhya school of thought, it focuses a lot on mere acquiring of knowledge and just trying to apply that knowledge and transforming that knowledge into realization. But then it discards a third important aspect which Patanjali is trying to highlight in his book. Yes, we do need knowledge, we do need to apply that knowledge and create that realization for ourselves and own that realization. But knowledge and realization alone will not help us understand the deeper truths of life. There's a third aspect, which is the involvement of higher grace. And that higher grace is what that gives us wisdom. So we need these three aspects: knowledge, realization, and wisdom to help us understand these deeper truths of life. And so Patanjali therefore is now saying, now that you have already studied the other schools of thought, therefore let us begin the yoga science to give a more complete understanding to our practice. Right? Isn't it so beautiful? And now he begins explaining the second understanding of the word atha. Now Patanjali, we all know him for his exposition on the yoga science, but many people do not know that Patanjali actually wrote two other books prior to writing the Yoga Sutras. The first book he wrote is called as Charaka Pratisamskrita, which is actually a book highlighting how to live a very healthy life, or in Sanskritam it is called as swasthya, right? Because the foundation to spiritual practice or any kind of progressive life is to have a good health, right? Without good health, we cannot pursue anything valuable in our life. So Patanjali's first book he wrote is an explanation of the Ayurvedic science, and he presents us tips on how to live a very healthy life, give us good swasthya. But after having acquired good health, the next aspect that we need to understand is how to become more cultured and refined. And what better indication of one's culture than one's language? Understand, language and our culture are very closely connected. And therefore, and the most important aspect of language is the grammar. So the second book that Patanjali wrote is a commentary on Panini's grammar. It is called as Mahabhashya. And by that book, Mahabhashya, Patanjali gave us culture or Samskruti, right? And that is what, after having acquired good health, what we need is good culture. While there is physical health, right, then we also need good social health. And that is what culture gives. And this is also a very important aspect for any kind of a progressive society. A good culture defines the health of the society. Just like how good physical health is an indication of our physical well-being, the culture of a society is an indication of the health of the society at large. So after having presented these two books, now he says, therefore, I will now give you sadhana. After swasthya and samskruti comes sadhana. After health and culture comes our spiritual practice, which is very important. And that is what gives us a sense of completion to our being, our existence. And that sadhana is what is being expounded in the sacred science of Yoga Sutras, right? And finally, the Acharyas also explain what is this significance of Atha, and the entire sutra in itself, Yoga Anushasanam. Anushasana, the word, it is not just some kind of a discourse, but actually it is an instructive discourse to create an impetus towards practice. Anushasanam, where you are following something, right? And this is the whole purpose of learning anything like Yoga Sutras or any kind of spiritual science. It is meant to practice in our own life. It is not some kind of an intellectual exercise. Yoga and spirituality is actually a powerful tool of self-transformation. And until we do not work on this self-transformation, the very purpose of our life is not met. Life is not just about meeting its external necessities, but the real purpose of life is a life of introspection, a life of transformation. As Socrates very famously said, an unexamined life is a life not worth living. And along that same mood, we see Patanjali now, he's creating an impetus for all of us. He's creating a sense of urgency within all of us. Now that we have got this special human form of life, let's fulfill the purpose of that life. And education is the first step, followed by transformation. And therefore, the sacred teachings of the science of yoga begin. So with this, Patanjali has now created a very strong impetus for us to jump into this journey of education and self-transformation. And that is what we are going to do as this course progresses, that we are all going to venture into this journey of education and self-transformation. So I thank you once again for joining us in this series of short wisdom capsules. And I hope you will all relish and experience the self-transformation as the great spiritual acharyas have always urged us to take up. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.